I am Julie Basco.
And I'm Kayla Marlin.
And today we are doing a report on...
Does playing violent video games cause aggressive behavior?
We have some questions we're going to ask today.
Yeah, the questions we asked random people were, if you're a parent, would you allow your children to play these video games? How would you feel about these violent video games? Do you think they cause aggressive behavior in younger children or older ones? Do you think the behavior causes issues in school, or do you think the behavior has a correlation with crime rates? So we went over that in the interviews. And with the case study that we went over,
it was effects of playing versus watching violent video games. The violent nature of TV programs and video games that are exposed to kids are alarming. Question of the study is whether active or passive creates more violence. This study was randomly assigned to ensure there is very little variables to influence the outcome. In a study conducted by Pullman, Castro, and Aiken, they gathered children to participate in a study. Where did these children come from?
they were from the Netherlands, and there was 56 children altogether, 28 boys and 28 girls, ages 10 to 13. How did they keep the variables low in this experiment?
Well, contact was prevented, and passive and active children in the experiment were separated by a screen to allow the study to be valid. Also, children took a questionnaire 15 minutes after on the character they had, the children, and their gaming habits.
Also, during this research experiment, the parents were asked to allow their children to participate without actually letting the children know that they're an experiment at all.
Today we have Jet coming in to talk more about the results. One of the results that the study found is that it exposed a strong relationship between gender and violent game frequencies. Boys play considerably more violent video games than girls do. What are some of the other results we have found?
Well, in boys, non-active violence versus the active violence, which means the non-active didn't get involved with any of the violence gaming at all, and the active means they directly contact with violence gaming, have no significant difference. And another group is the passive violence, which is the people just watching other people playing violence video games, versus non-violence, which basically doesn't have any action involved with violence video game whatsoever. That's also have no significant difference. But however, the active violence versus the passive, there's a huge significant difference in more aggression towards the active violence group.
Was there a significant difference between girls?
No, actually, in every single group, with all three of them, there's no significant difference in girls.
According to the Pruell test, it revealed that boys who had just played recently or watched a violent video game were more aggressive than boys that had played or watched an hour ago.
So, we bring a second article to back up our first point. This article is by 4 German, their name is difficult to pronounce, but it's basically the evidence of selective effects among kids.
There's 3 different kind of experimental researches. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. The experimental, which is short but lack of real life environment. So basically a lab test.
Sectional is the next one up. Can you tell me about that?
Yep. This one is a study of long period of time in a larger sample, and of course involved with more real life environment.
The last one is longitudinal. Can you tell me about that?
Well, this one is basically the best of both worlds. It studied in a large group of people and over the period of time. So it cut off that short period of time from the cross section, and it also bring the real life from the cross section, but still have the laboratory setting. Well, in the study, they gathered a group of kids. Can you tell me what kind of kids they were looking for?
They gathered a group of German gamers that were 14 and older 50,000 people were surveyed in this experiment. Random samplings of 4,500 and 3,500 digital games and 1,000 who played solo. There were 3 waves when they conducted this experiment. What's the second wave?
Well, the second wave was 1 year later, and there's only 2,200 people. They focused on only 14 years old to 21 years old, which is only 332 people. Well, what about the final wave?
In the final wave, there were 276 people, average age of 17.6 years old. 53 of them were female, likelihood of missing data of interest at complete random.
Which means there were 50,000 people, and now they only come back with less than 300 people, so the data could be missing. Well, there's some factor that they use to measure the aggression in the individual. What are some of them?
Some of the measures they had taken was demographic factors, which was sex, age, and education measured with single items. Also, educational systems are ranged from 0 to 5. What's the other one?
Well, they leave that as a control variable. What's matter to them is the physical aggression. Buzz and Terry asked some questions to those kids. Depends on their statement, that's how aggressive they are. What are those statements?
The statements are, there are people who pushed me so far that we came to blows. The next statement is, given enough provocation, I may hit another person.
And they use USK system rating on the game to determine how aggressive the game is.
To gather the data, they were separated into 2 groups, ages ranging from 14 to 17 and 18 to 21. They used group comparison instead of using age as a control group because they were more interested in the differences between young adults and adolescents. Older kids play more violent video games, but with few hours of games play and lower levels of mean of physical aggression. What's the opposite of that?
Well, the cross-sectional doesn't believe so. They only thinks that it affects only the young kids. Well, the result of the second study is that the violence video games only affects kids between 14 to 17 years old. 18 to 20 years old, however, doesn't matter the sex, education, or the frequency of their playing the games have no effects whatsoever. This study also fit with Ferguson's study, while the result actually contradicted with a GAM, General Aggression Model. They believe that the 3rd and 4th grade kids will always experience the downward spiral model.
In the first study, the results showed that boys playing the video games caused more aggression than just merely watching the same video game. These results are complicated by the fact that there was no significant difference for girls. Another result that was found is that boys who have played more violent video games have pre-existing schemas that cause them to have more aggressive behavior than girls who haven't played violent video games in their lifetime.
So, what is your opinion on it?
My opinion is that I believe it is a case of nature versus nurture. If you are born with aggressive genetics, then playing violent video games, you will be more aggressive. But if you are a sweetheart and like cuddles, so you will not be as aggressive if you watch violent video games. And it depends on how you were raised up too. What's your opinion?
Well, I think it comes down to competitive nature of human in general. If we think about it, we all get angry when we play Uno. So it comes down to personality, competition, many things, more than just the violent video game itself.
As a parent, would you ever agree with letting your children play violent video games? Like if they ever wanted to? Would you?
Up to, maybe to a certain age, yes, but not really.
Why not?
At a certain, well, just because of the real world, a lot of these kids decide to bring the, virtual into reality. So.
What do you think is a right age?
I would say depending on the violence in the game, I would say probably roughly, over 16. I would say, because it sounds like a good age.
Okay. And what else you got?
Do you think playing violent video games will like lead to children wanting to do crimes in the future as adults?
I mean, that's really a yes or no answer. It really depends on the kid. It depends on, you know, his lifestyle, I would say. That's a bold question, but I would say no, but under certain circumstances.
Like how they're raised?
Right, that and just the lifestyle, maybe being bullied, maybe just, you know, just
So,
life. You know, I don't think it's just
personality
a game. I
and
think
the
game-
experience, you mean?
What's that?
Like their personality and their experience will affect that, you mean?
Right, I think it's a combination of things. I don't think it's just their personality. I think it's more into depth. Maybe the way that, you know, maybe their school, the kids that maybe they you're associated with, because you know you are who you hang out with too. So if you get, you know, a little bit of motivation from another guy doing bad things, you know, I think it's just a scenario of just multiple things together. But yes, gaming I would think is really the foundation of becoming somebody that you don't want to become.
Okay.
Depending, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One more question.
Yeah.
How old are you?
What's that?
How old are you?
How old am I?
Yeah.
I'm 24.
24. And how many kids you have?
I have one.
One?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I'm 38.
Do you have any children?
I do. I have 6.
6?
6.
Oh man, what's the oldest?
18.
Would you allow him to
Her.
play video games? Would you think it's okay?
The 18-year-old probably, yes. But if you're talking about the 12-year-old, probably.
Why wouldn't you let your younger kids play video games, like violent ones?
Well, violent ones, just I don't think it's a good example, and I wouldn't want them to bring that to the world.
Do you think that if they play those video games, they'll take what they learned in those games?
I think it's possible. Yeah, it's a possibility. I'm not willing to take that chance.
Do you think violent video games has a correlation with like if students if they do bad in school or not, like their behavior issues in school?
I think it can be distracting, so I think it could bring their grades down.
Okay.
Do you think like it create like, since you're not allowed them to play with those kind of video games, do you think like it create like curiosity in their minds?
Being that I don't let them
Yeah.
play it? Possibly.
Do you think that like would, since like when they get older, do you think they would just like be more curious, so they just will like explore that in a different way instead of just like you teaching them how?
I mean, I don't think not playing them now. I think they're just not mature enough. So when they get older, I would think they'd be mature enough to draw the line between.
I know you have the oldest is 18, you say yes, but what's like the cutting age where you would say you're allowed to, like 16?
Probably, I would say 17. Where
17?
they're mature enough to, you know, draw the line between reality and video game.
Do you think violent video games, you know, if your child has an aggressive behavior, do you think the violent video games would make it worse?
I think so, yes. I think it definitely
Okay.
could. Sorry, my phone rang. I'm sorry about that.
Alright, do you think that violent video games could, like, be detrimental to smaller children? Like, if your older child was playing a video game and your younger one watched them play it, do you think that would...
I mean, it could, but I mean, I'm not talking like, you know, major, I don't think they'd have major issues from it, but I mean, I don't think it's a good idea to show them so young. But
Alright.
So you think like they